Ladies and gentlemen, today I invite you into a profound shift, not in circumstance, but in consciousness. A shift so simple, yet so powerful, it can turn your entire life into a cascade of synchronicities, blessings, and seemingly impossible opportunities. Act as if you are the luckiest person in the world. Not tomorrow, not when something changes, right now. Close your eyes for a moment and see it. Your life, fully aligned with joy, abundance, love, and ease. See doors opening effortlessly. Imagine that every person you meet, every step you take, every decision you make leads to something greater than you expected. Feel it. Feel the gratitude, the thrill of knowing everything is always working out for you. This is not fantasy. This is the mechanism of creation. You are not a victim of chance. You are the operant power. Reality is not imposed upon you. It is summoned by you. What you accept as true of yourself becomes your world. When you walk as the luckiest person alive, not only do you feel different, life becomes different. It's not about pretending for the sake of pretending. It's about assuming a new identity from the inside out. If you were truly lucky, how would you walk? How would you speak? What would you expect from the day ahead? Begin there. Begin with the feeling. All things follow the feeling. Facts follow faith. You do not have to beg life for miracles. You embody them. And when doubt arises, because it will, you return inward and remember, I am not reacting to the world, I am creating it. The secret is not in waiting for evidence. The secret is assuming the role and watching reality align. So carry yourself with the unshakable knowing that life bends to your belief, that nothing is denied to the one who claims it in the unseen. Walk as the lucky one. Think as the chosen one. Live as if you cannot fail. And soon, the world will have no choice but to reflect what you have known all along. You are, and always have been, the luckiest person in the world. Imagination is the foundation of reality because it is the origin of every creation, every innovation, and every transformation we experience. Long before anything appears in the physical world, it is first conceived within the unseen realm of the mind. The house you live in, the job you go to, the relationships you experience, all of these were once imagined by someone. Nothing exists on the outside that was not first born on the inside. Imagination is not idle daydreaming. It is the blueprint of existence. What we dwell upon internally becomes impressed upon the subconscious, and from that impression, life begins to take shape. Most people believe they are shaped by circumstances, but in truth, they are shaped by the images they consistently hold in their consciousness. Every repeated thought, especially when charged with feeling, becomes a seed. When nurtured by belief and attention, that seed takes root and expresses itself through the events and conditions of life. The outer world simply mirrors the inner state. It reflects what we persistently imagine to be true about ourselves, about others, about what is possible. Imagination gives form to the formless. It is the silent sculptor behind everything tangible. When someone holds an image of success, love, health, or abundance, and remains faithful to that inner vision, the world eventually bends to accommodate it, not through force or effort alone, but through alignment with a deeper law of consciousness. We do not manifest by wishing vaguely, but by imagining clearly and feeling deeply. The clearer and more emotionally charged the mental picture, the more swiftly it crystallizes into experience. In this way, imagination becomes a sacred act. It is where we select the kind of life we wish to live. It is not limited by current facts or conditions. You may be surrounded by chaos and still imagine peace. You may be facing lack and still imagine wealth. And if you persist, not with strain, but with certainty, life will begin to move in the direction of your dominant inner vision. It is not magic, it is law. The world you see is the echo of the world you first imagined. Soon the feeling of the wish fulfilled means to emotionally and mentally occupy the state of having already received what you desire. It is not about hoping or wishing or longing. It is about entering in consciousness the reality where your desire is already true. You step beyond the appearance of things and dwell in the unseen, where the outcome you want is not only possible, but present. The key is not the desire itself, but the emotional conviction that it is done. You don't look toward the goal as something distant. You feel the reality of it now, in the present moment. When you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, your inner world shifts. You think differently, you carry yourself differently, and you interpret events through a new lens. You begin to notice signs that align with your assumption, not because they suddenly appeared out of nowhere, but because your awareness has changed. The world reorganizes itself around your new state of being because your consciousness is the creative force behind your reality. You do not need to know how your desire will come to pass. You simply need to remain loyal to the feeling that it already has. This act requires imagination and discipline. It is not about forcing yourself to believe something blindly, but about gently entering into a scene in your mind where your desire is already realized. You hear the congratulatory voices. You see the outcome through your own eyes. You feel the satisfaction, the peace, the relief that comes once the longing has ended. You give life to that scene with emotion, and you return to it often, especially when the outer world contradicts it. You learn to prioritize your inner reality over the evidence of the senses. The feeling is the secret. It is the bridge between the unseen and the seen, between thought and form. It is not enough to merely think of what you want. You must feel from it, not from the position of lack or wanting, but from the fulfillment of having. This is a silent knowing, a quiet confidence that says, it is done. And in that assumption, you create the conditions for its expression. Your self-concept creates your world because the image you hold of yourself acts as the filter through which all of life is experienced and interpreted. It is the silent script running in the background of your mind that determines what you believe you can be, do, or have. Every thought you consistently think about who you are becomes the mold from which your reality is shaped. If you see yourself as powerful, worthy, capable, and loved, then your world mirrors that. If you see yourself as small, forgotten, or unlucky, the world will reflect those beliefs back to you in people, events, and circumstances. The outer world is not separate from the inner identity you assume. It responds not to who you say you are on the surface, but to who you believe you are deep within. Your self-concept is formed through repetition of thought, emotional experiences, and internalized assumptions. And once it is established, it becomes the gravitational force around which your life revolves. You unconsciously attract situations that confirm your self-perceiver and reject those that conflict with it, even if they are what you consciously desire. You may try to change your behavior or environment, but if your self-concept remains the same, you will find yourself repeating the same patterns. This is why effort without inner change often leads to frustration. Real transformation begins with a revision of self. When you change the way you see yourself, everything else begins to shift accordingly. New choices feel natural, new opportunities arise, and people respond differently because the energy you emit has changed. This is not about arrogance or false confidence. It is about claiming a new identity in silence and truth. You begin by asking, who am I being? What do I consistently say about myself? And what would I need to believe about myself to experience the life I desire? Then you embody that new idea. You imagine yourself as that version of you. You walk through the world with the posture, tone, and expectation of someone who already is who they wish to be. Life does not respond to what you want. It responds to what you are. And what you are is rooted in the concept you hold of yourself, whether consciously or unconsciously. Change that concept, and the world cannot help but change with it. The power of belief overrides external evidence because belief operates from a level of consciousness that is not bound by what the senses report. It exists independently of facts, appearances, or circumstances. When you truly believe something, you give it permission to express itself in your reality, regardless of whether it seems possible or logical by the standards of the world. Belief is the inner conviction that something is true, even if every visible sign says otherwise. And it is that conviction, not the outer facts, that ultimately shapes what unfolds. External evidence is fluid. It reflects the past, the results of previous thoughts, emotions, and assumptions. It is not the source of power, it is the echo. Yet most people allow it to dictate what they believe, thinking, I'll believe it when I see it. But the process is reversed. You see it because you believe it. Belief precedes manifestation. It is the cause. What you see is the effect. When you understand this, you no longer seek validation in the outer world. You stop needing proof before choosing your reality, and instead hold your belief steady until the proof appears. This requires inner strength and clarity to believe in abundance when you're surrounded by lack, to believe in healing when the diagnosis says otherwise, to believe in love when you feel alone. These are acts of spiritual courage, not delusion, but determination. You are choosing to align with a deeper truth, one that has not yet surfaced in form, but exists as potential, waiting to be called forth by your sustained assumption. Belief does not mean struggle, it means certainty. A calm, quiet knowing that what you hold within yourself must eventually find its reflection in the world around you. This knowing allows you to move through challenges without collapsing into doubt. Even when things appear to be falling apart, your belief holds the pattern of what you desire in place. It acts like an anchor in unseen waters, keeping your course steady even when the waves are high. The more intensely and consistently you believe in something, the more your mind and body begin to behave as if it's already true. You start to take actions, make decisions, and speak words that align with your inner assumption. That alignment produces shifts. It alters your energy, and your energy reshapes your experience. External evidence begins to change, not because it led your belief, but because your belief led it. Persistent inner conviction transforms the outer world because it is the steady, unwavering belief in a desired reality that gives it the power to take form. It is not a momentary wish or passing thought, but a deep and continuous knowing that what you hold within must eventually express itself without. This conviction is not based on appearances. In fact, it often exists in direct opposition to them. It endures through doubt, resists discouragement, and remains fixed even when circumstances seem stagnant or contrary. The world may not change immediately, but the inner state, maintained consistently, begins to impress itself upon the fabric of reality. Every persistent assumption creates a momentum. The longer you dwell in a belief, especially when it is infused with emotion and clarity, the more it gathers energy and influence. Like water carving through stone, it may not seem powerful in a single moment, but over time, it reshapes everything. Inner conviction operates in silence and stillness, but its effects are undeniable. It changes the tone of your thoughts, the direction of your actions, the people you attract, and the situations you find yourself in. This persistence is not about force or struggle. It is about faithfulness. You remain loyal to the vision you've chosen, not because of evidence, but because you have claimed it as your reality. When challenges arise, as they often do, you return to the state of being that affirms your desire is already fulfilled. You feel it. You see it in your mind's eye, and you carry yourself as if it were already true. Each time you do this, you deepen the groove of belief in your consciousness, and that belief begins to override old patterns, habits, and expectations. The outer world cannot help but reflect the inner conviction held most consistently. It reorganizes itself to match your dominant state of consciousness. What you persist in imagining, feeling, and accepting as true begins to crystallize in the form of opportunities, changes, and events. You don't force reality to change. You assume the version of yourself who lives in the desired outcome, and the world aligns. It may happen gradually or suddenly, but it always happens because persistent inner conviction acts as a blueprint that reality must eventually follow. To maintain such conviction requires presence and intention. It asks you to choose again and again, each day, to live from the reality you wish to experience, not from the one that currently surrounds you. And with each moment of inner consistency, the foundation of the old begins to dissolve and the structure of the new begins to rise. You don't wait to be lucky. You live as if you already are, because luck is not something handed out at random. It is a state of consciousness you choose to embody. Most people believe that luck comes from circumstances aligning by chance, a job offer falling into their lap, meeting the right person, winning a prize, or being in the right place at the right time. But what they call luck is often the result of a deep, unconscious expectation of good things happening. When you carry the belief that you are fortunate, that life favors you, and that things work out for you, the world begins to reflect that assumption in surprising and favorable ways. To live as if you are already lucky means to meet life with the mindset of someone who expects success, synchronicity, and ease. It's walking into a room and knowing opportunities are already there waiting for you. It's trusting that the right connections, resources, and solutions are naturally drawn to you. This is not arrogance. It's alignment. It is choosing to identify with a reality where you are supported by unseen forces, where you move through life as if the odds are always in your favor. When you live from this state, your energy changes. You speak differently, act differently, and make decisions from a place of confidence rather than hesitation. You're no longer ruled by fear or scarcity because you've accepted abundance as your natural state. And this shift ripples outward. People are drawn to your energy. Opportunities seem to appear from nowhere, and you begin to experience what others call luck, not because you chased it, but because you became it. This way of living demands imagination and commitment. It means refusing to define yourself by past experiences or current limitations. It means rewriting the internal story from "nothing ever works out for me" to "everything flows to me at the perfect time." And you live in accordance with that story, not just in your thoughts, but in your behavior, your choices, and your expectations. The moment you stop waiting and start embodying the identity of someone who is already lucky, the game changes. You no longer need to prove yourself or search desperately for signs. You become the source of the energy that attracts the very things you used to chase. It's a quiet confidence, an inner smile that says, "I don't need to hope for luck. I already live in it." And from that place, the world begins to mirror that truth back to you in countless and unexpected ways. So what does it truly mean to act as if you are the luckiest person in the world? It means awakening to the power already within you, the power to imagine, to assume, to believe, to persist, to embody, and to live in alignment with the life you desire long before it appears. It means refusing to let external evidence dictate your inner truth. It means walking with the quiet certainty that you are not here to chase luck, but to express it, to live it from the inside out. You do not need permission from the world to feel chosen, favored, blessed. You give that permission to yourself, and the world will respond in kind. You will begin to see proof, not because you waited for it, but because you believed before there was anything to believe in. You are the cause, not the effect. And when you act from that knowing, not someday, but now, life moves in remarkable ways to support your assumption. What you consistently feel and embody becomes what you live. So go forward with boldness. Think, speak, and live as the luckiest person alive, not because life has proven it, but because you have decided it. Thank you.